Hello everyone. I wanted to make a video to discuss the commentaries that were made on a panel discussion about the war against black men. Now, on the commentary, there were a couple of actually everybody on that panel was a very controversial character on the panel. All of the people that were up there were very controversial. And I wanted to highlight a couple of things that I thought were real interesting on that panel. That panel has a tendency to have the most toxic people on there about some of the most toxic subjects. But it's something I guess people in the community are very concerned about. So then now that they're having a gender dispute between black men and black women, because a lot of people are feeling very cheated on what they should be entitled to in relationships and so forth. We got a lot of anger out there. I don't know if it's actually justified, but I think it's rather sad. But the talking points that were real interesting were that they claim, the ladies are saying black men aren't building enough, they're not defending us, they couldn't keep us from being conquered, and all of the like. Now, this is an interesting argument. There were other types of people who were conquered in wars. They were even enslaved. But for some reason, we want to torment ourselves on why it happened to us. And it's really a waste of time. What should be done at this point is to make sure that we are in a position that we never have our history repeat itself, whether it be in a different form or whether it be just the different things that are going on. I'm going to make a commentary about another commentary that was made about the transgender that was on the forum. Now, I thought the transgender being on it was a nice, difference of, to hear the opinions of transgenders are just as important to me as hearing the opinions of heterosexual or just cis people, if you will, depending on gender identification. Because as far as I'm concerned, I think the heterosexual community has fucked up enough. We have no right to criticize anybody, the LGBT community, anybody else. I can speak on that because having witnessed and even experienced on my own relationships that are very dysfunctional, I don't see any point in criticizing another type of community that's not relatable to me over something I can't do anything to solve my own problem. So I'm not going to sit there and discount the LGBT community, whichever group they happen to be in, for having anything to say about what's going on in the community, because they are part of our community, whether we like it or not. That's not for you to decide, being as dysfunctional as you are, for the most part, to criticize somebody else. And I'm specifically speaking of people on that panel, not the whole black community, okay? Because, as far as I can see, the black community has always been tolerant and of everybody, probably too much so, but especially of the LGBT community. They have been more tolerant than we've been given credit for. So I know that there are some things you can't speak on, different things, if you're not part of this monolith, but that's not true. They should have even had white people come on there and speak on this nonsense, because it was nonsense, believe me. The panel was, that whole forum is a bunch of nonsense anyway. But there was a Pan-African man who's known for his Pan-African causes that he fights for, who was on there, and it seemed like everybody thinks that they were ganging up on him, but actually I think he made some very intelligent points. It's just that he was overlooked, and I didn't overlook it at all, because it all lined up as far as I'm concerned. So, but you got the hate mongers on there who wanted to make a big thing out of a transgender being on there, and then on top of it, I think the transgender actually made some very good points, just because they may have been more objective. Okay, sometimes if you're not part of something, you can be a lot more objective. Now, I didn't like the fact that there was one commentator who seems like they're intelligent, they know how to present their material very well, but it's just the same bigoted message. And I thought it was very toxic, and it can be very deceiving to people, because this person is intelligent and can state their case very well, but KKK can be intelligent too and state their case very well. They're highly educated KKK people who state their case. They make lawyers, doctors, all kinds of degrees, you name it. They're not exempt just because they're intelligent. If you're a bigot, you're a bigot. And she even admitted she was, and doesn't care. Now, how many people get away with that? I even made a comment on the channel and saying, you like to bash the LGBT community. You're always doing that. And other people would have to publicly apologize to them. If that was a comedian or anybody else, they would drag their career through the mud and make them apologize. There are special interest groups, if you will. Certain groups that are protected groups in this country. You want to be nasty and talk about them, they're gonna stick it back to you, and you're gonna have to pay a penalty for it. But some people think they don't have to pay penalties. If you have an opinion like that, you need to just keep it to your damn self, because it's not everybody else's problem. Okay? That's the way I feel. If you don't like a certain group of people, please keep it to your damn self. Because along with that opinion about the LGBT, she's also bigoted about other things, which makes her a person of no character at all. Even though she presents it very well, she's still of low character. There's another few comments about the forum, like the hatred of black men because they have not accomplished enough and all this. Well, let it be told, men are getting a real raw deal in this, because they're not protecting their women enough. They're not doing enough for us. Let's be clear. Women of all these communities have opted for their independence. Why do you need to depend on somebody if you're a full-grown person? Let's just be clear. You were the ones who wanted to get on this rant about, I don't need a man. I need to be independent. So if you're going to be independent, please be independent. Don't expect anything from anybody. And if you get in a relationship with someone, make it clear what you expect out of that relationship. And everybody has been in a harmful relationship with you. If you're an adult, chances are you've had a bad experience. Okay, well, I'm sorry to hear it. I know somebody broke your heart. Well, that's life. That's life. If you don't follow the Bible and do what you're supposed to do, you're going to have your heart broken, y'all. If you don't let talking about any particular religion, but just about every religion recommends that you don't have sex before marriage, you don't get involved with illicit sexual contact with men. If you don't choose to keep your virtue, you risk getting hurt. You risk ending up with diseases, children out of wedlock that are not going to be accounted for. You know, if you don't want to follow the rules, then you're going to pay the penalty for it. Now, some people don't have to follow the rules and they do it just fine. But if you're not one of those people that were fortunate enough not to have to pay the horrible penalty of a child out of wedlock, or having abortions because you don't want to take care of a child, or you're not one of those people that got your heart broken, you're one of the lucky ones. Because most of us, and I include myself, if I was in relationships before marriage, chances are, if it don't work out, you're going to get your heart broken. Okay? That's just because your heart got broken doesn't mean everybody else has to hear about it. Everybody else doesn't have to pay restitution to you because of your decisions. Okay? So I don't feel sorry for anybody who made those decisions. Just live with it. Learn from it. That's what being evolving is all about. Just because you hate men now, because some dust bucket, if you will, did something wrong, what about you? What about you? What are you doing wrong? Now, I know most people teach their daughters what to watch out for. They teach their daughters about birth control if they're going to be involved with anybody, and they have the nerve to say, well, you know, men should do for me anyway. No, they should not. If you don't follow the original rule, but don't do anything if you don't want to pay the penalty for it, then don't expect anybody to care. Just live with your decision and suck it up. That's all I got to say about that. And see, you got people like this making decisions and having commentary to other people how things ought to be. Those are not the people you look to. Look to a successful person to guide you and how to have interactions and relationships with the opposite sex. Look to the ones who really got their act together. Those people on that panel, they're the last ones you ought to listen to, including the men, the Pan-African gentleman. He hasn't had a quote-unquote successful relationship or marriage yet. And he has some pretty messed up views too about the way women are and against the LGBT community and everything else. And he definitely doesn't have a successful relationship to show for it. So please don't listen to people that are already fucked up. Okay? Listen to somebody who has had a marriage, had it according to the recommendations of today, whether they're in a church or whatever, if they're from a religious group that helped them find a good partner and all that. I don't care if it's a arranged marriage or whatever the case may be, but listen to people who really know how to have a relationship and know how to base a relationship on healthy living. Not someone who has had 4 or 5 different failed relationships, and all of a sudden they know every daggone thing. They have not done anything right. Not even now. They're not in a relationship now that's good. Why are you listening to these people? And then there's ladies. Okay, they're single ladies because they decided they wanted to divest, so they don't like to be around men anymore. They got mistreated. Don't listen to them either. Don't bother. They don't want to have a relationship and get along with anybody. That's their problem. You know, I mean, it's a shame, but it's true. And it's not always the guy's fault. It's not always their fault. Do you know that women cheat on men too? Yeah, they do. Then women degrade men, emasculate them, talk down on them. A man may do the same thing to a woman, but it's a lot more, it's harmful, I think. But it's still the same thing. So don't listen to people who can't get their act together in the relationship department, in the romance department, please. Because this is something that's causing so much dissension in the community. Because if you can't have a good relationship, you don't get to have a family. It's very, very, tricky to have a family when you're not in a solid relationship with someone. And I know it's very challenging, speaking from personal experience. But relationships are important in that respect if you're going to have them. So listen to those who are capable and will have successful relationships. Don't listen to people who are mad about everything, who want to put everybody down, blame it on everybody else. It's just that simple. So this whole, panel discussion, listening to the variety of reactions about it is very interesting to me. But let it be told, everybody should be responsible for their own accountability. It's not like that for everybody just because it was for those fools. I'm just saying, don't listen to them. It's like watching a TV show. That's all it is. It's a TV show. It's not real life. It's a shame they can't think of something nice to say about everybody, but the thing about it is that's not what makes their money. It's just like everybody watches certain TV shows because they're violent, full of sex, full of toxic things, because those are the shows that get the views. But in real life, that's not how everybody's going to live. So that is my commentary on this very controversial forum. And they will continue to have these forums, but just beware and not listen to all of it and take it to heart for yourself, because that will definitely destroy any chance that you would have any success. That's my comments for today, and thank you for listening. I'll see you on the next one.